Form tablets actually talk about the creation of our solar system as we know it right now, including how Earth was created and how we acquired our moon. It's an amazing story, and it's hard to understand for the average person who starts reading it because it almost sounds like it's people battling in the sky. But when you really break it down and understand it's the epic of the creation of our solar system itself.
That's amazing. It's almost biblical, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the Bible copied a lot of the content from the Enumeration to Genesis.
At the British Museum, there's a fellow called Irving Finkel,
Yeah.
and he talks a little about this. Billy, how in the world do they interpret that?
It's so amazing. I mean, really,
is.
you know, the thing that's so beautiful about it is at the time, many people were copying the Sumerian language over into their own languages. So we had kind of a key to understand what the Sumerian text was saying. Luckily, because many people, the Sumerians almost seem to have branched out and kickstarted so many civilizations outside of themselves. And because of that, everybody translating, from the Sumerian into their own languages gave us a key to understand what those cuneiform texts were saying.
Tell us what you think happened many years ago.
The conclusion that I personally have come to is that there were beings, advanced beings that are our progenitors that came to this planet in ancient times to strip mine this planet for resources, but not only Earth, the moon, Mars, and a couple of other moons of Jupiter as well. And they came to get these resources, and during that time frame, they lived here and mined this planet themselves for about 250,000 years. And then at one point, the working class became very agitated from the workload and decided that they were going to revolt against the leaders, which were Enki and Enlil. And at that time, a decision was made to create a slave worker, which would be, what we are, Homo sapien, from an existing hominid. They didn't literally create a human being from dust, but they took
something was already on the planet.
Something was already on the planet, and they took that something, that hominid, and they took an egg out of one, cleaned up the genetic material, put the Anunnaki genetic material inside of it, embedded it into the womb of one of the Anunnaki women, and she took it to full term and gave birth 10 months later to the Adamu, or the first man.
It sounds like Adam and Eve.
Absolutely.
Now, this person that you have mentioned several times, Enki, who was he?
Enki was a son of Anu. Anu was the main king or the main leaders. That's where we get Anunnaki. Who came here. Okay, he came here a little bit after his sons arrived. They call them the heroes of old.
Right, the sons got here first.
Right, Enki and Enlil. Now, Enki, his actual name is Ea Enki. So Ea, the first two letters, A, and Ki was Earth. So he became the ruler or the king of Earth, even though his brother Enlil ran everything.
Okay.
He had a higher rank than Enlil, but something happened which it's not clear exactly how it happened, but his brother Enlil superseded him at some point and gained complete control of the planet, even though the planet was named after Ea Enki.
And they had the ability to breathe our atmosphere, our air, and everything else?
Absolutely. They come from a planet that's most likely very similar makeup to Earth.
Okay. So we could live on that planet.
We could live on that planet, exactly.
Does any of this negate Genesis or the Bible, or does it augment it?
It actually augments it. It gives it a much bigger view. In other words, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all of these books, they mention Marduk and all these people, believe it or not. However, in a very short, small version of the story. If you look at the Epic of Atrahasis and the Seven Types of Creation, you get the big story. You get a much bigger epic versus what the Bible has taken small parts of it, somebody over time, many, many hundreds of years after the people that they're talking about, sometimes even thousands of years, are already gone and passed away. I think a lot of people confuse the Bible with being written in real time as events happen, but in true reality, the Bible was written hundreds of years after events happened. So you're looking at something that's basically just copied information from much more ancient texts and slightly modified.
Going back to the Anunnaki, Billy, and what they wanted, they came here, as you said, to mine gold.
Yes.
Zechariah Sitchin has always said they needed to sprinkle gold particles in their atmosphere almost to shield their planet from the sun. They're in our solar system. How does that work?
Well, gold is a very, very technological item or element. And I think that a lot of people who are into gold and gold jewelry and everything else, they don't realize that they've been fooled into thinking gold has a value for decoration and monetary means. Actually, what happened was, in ancient times, gold was mined by the Anunnaki before humans even got involved to create this substance, this powdered dust that they can actually hoist into their atmosphere.
Powdered gold.
Powdered gold. And to add credence to that, my vehicle that I actually drive doesn't have any window tint. It's a higher end car, and the glass in my vehicle has powdered gold in the windows to reflect UV light to keep the interior of the car cool.
Isn't that what the astronauts used as a shield when they went to the moon?
So you see, gold is very technological, and you need it for radiation-hardened computer circuit boards. You need it for satellites. The thing about gold is you get no loss of electricity, no matter how long the distance. It's a great electrical conductor. Yeah. And you don't lose anything in friction. So, and you can meld it. It's very malleable. You can mold it to almost any shape.
Billy, I've had a number of guests on Beyond Belief and also on the radio program Coast to Coast AM that have talked about this extra planet in the universe, in the solar system, called Planet X. Yeah. If it's a planet, if it's out there, call it Nibiru, why haven't astronomers told us about it?
They actually have. Just recently on Fox News, an astronomer came on there and he described not only that they've discovered it, but they've named it. NASA calls it Planet 9. This astronomer says they've called it Biden. They've nicknamed it Biden.
After Joe Biden?
Yeah, which is bizarre. Maybe he funded some of the research. I don't know. It's very possible. Yeah. But they even showed it on the little blip on the little show that they put up. And they've said it's extremely far beyond the orbit of Pluto, but it's orbiting its own star. It's got a brown dwarf star that it orbits. So we're talking about
in our solar system.
In our solar system, there's another solar system. He actually says it openly on TV. So we live in a binary solar system, and according to this astronomer, it orbits our sun every 4,200 years. And it's got its own little planetary solar system going around it.
That's where the Anunnaki are.
Well, right? He says that's what the astronomer said, which blew me away. That's where we came from. I almost had to play it back. Matter of fact, I looped it on my video channel because I wanted to hear it over and over again. He said, we're looking at where we came from.
So this planet, we'll call it Nibiru, inhabited with the Anunnaki, are they still there, in your opinion, on that planet?
That's a good question. They may have already left and expanded and spread out more. They were already, in my opinion, a species that had already spread out from maybe the Pleiades. And the reason why I get that is because a lot of the ancient artifacts that I've looked at now, going around the world to different places and seeing some of these artifacts in museums, they usually depict the Pleiadian star cluster and the Orion, and sometimes Sirius. So I'm really starting to think that they are an intergalactic species. And even in one of the epics, one of the Anunnaki gods takes on a wife from another planet. So, I mean, this is some real Star Wars type stuff here. I really think that they're everywhere, man. I believe they may still be living in our solar system. Now we have a new area of the solar system called the inner Oort cloud, where there are all kind of rogue planets and things out there that shouldn't exist, that we didn't think could possibly exist. And I think that it's important for people to understand. A lot of people saying, is it going to come back and crash into our Earth? I don't think that this object is going to crash into the Earth. But what I think is happening is dislodging debris from the Oort cloud and sending it streaming toward the inner solar system, which is probably why Obama signed the executive order a few years ago to have a mission to a comet to try to learn how to shift its orbit, because we have to learn how to avert, of course, annihilation from some of these objects. And there's a lot of them out there, and a lot coming toward the inner Earth, inner orbits.
Now, why do they say that this extra planet, Planet X, that comes around every 3,600 years based on Sitchin's theories, plays a havoc with the planet? May have contributed to the Great Flood, may have contributed to other disasters on this planet. Why did they say that?
Because similar to Mars, where Mars has a very strange orbit where it orbits closer to the sun and then further away at times, this object kind of does the same thing. As it comes towards the orbit of our sun, it comes in pretty close and creates a breakaway speed. Now, not close enough to interact directly with our inner solar system planets where it's going to crash into anything. Not anymore, I don't believe. But I believe that because of the gravity of the brown dwarf star that it orbits, it has a direct effect on creating earthquakes, different type of storm patterns, melting our ice caps.
Somewhere along the line, as we talk about all of this, the Anunnaki coming here, looking at whatever species might have been on the planet at the time, let's call it Neanderthals, and they saw that and said, no, we need workers who are going to listen to us and brains, so we genetically alter them and we do all that. And then in the Bible, it makes it seem like it was just a God that did it, fallen angels, to me, being extraterrestrials who came down here and things like that. Let's tuck all that aside for a second, Billy. Somewhere along the line, somebody had to create the Anunnaki.
Yes.
What about this theory of who is God? What started it all? You had to have something happen first.
Yeah.
That's what's so amazing to me. Somewhere at the end of the line, you've got to have a real beginning.
Right.
What is that beginning?
That's the biggest question of them all, because even if we live in a holographic universe and we're living in a simulation which was created, which would really easily explain how you can have multiple types of beings that just pop up on the scene with intelligence. I don't really believe in the standard version of evolution. I believe that there's microevolution, but macroevolution I think is a little bit different. I think things are created.
Sure.
But at the top of the list, as you go up many levels, where does it all begin? That is one of the biggest questions. If we're living in an ancestor civilization of an ancestor civilization, at some point, when do we get to base reality? And if we get to base reality, well, how did that begin? The questions just create more questions. It's very difficult to answer.
Will we ever get that answer?
Maybe not while we're